I want to talk to you about this week about what inspires and motivates you, and what kind of things are you passionate about. I was thinking back to my days in Sunday school, and we used to study about David and Goliath. You know, we really should sometimes visit the classics of the faith. And when in 1 Samuel 17 we read that story about David and Goliath, and David said to the Philistine giant, "You come against me with a sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord God Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defiled. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands." You know, the question of purpose is one that David answered at a very young age. You may have heard that story of David and Goliath probably 100 of times. The army of Israel was outmatched and being taunted by a very giant man. And that's when this very young David experienced an inexperienced shepherd boy shows up, and it doesn't take long before he is so outraged and offended by Goliath taunting not only the Israelite army but the God of Israel, that he volunteers to fight. Now, what motivates David to act in such a way to risk his life? You see, David knew the freedom and liberty that comes with a relationship with God, but he also knew that the freedom and liberty of his people were at stake. And he probably also thought about the impact and loss that it would have had on the people that he loved. But there was something more. There was something greater that moved David from the sidelines to the front line. The final straw was that when he heard Goliath taunting the name of the one true living God, the honor and the name of God were at stake. And that's what motivated David to action. Now, let me ask you something. Where are you headed and why? What motivates you to get up in the morning? Is it wealth and a career or accomplishment? Is it your family? I want to challenge you to put all of that second in pursuit to God. Put God before your work and your friends and even your family, and ask God for clarity. Ask God for direction. Ask God for purpose. Imagine what would happen if this present generation and the next generation pursued God before everything else. Don't you think this world would be a much better place? I do. Because you see, we have the biblical example of David. You see, that's why David was called a man after God's own heart. We need a generation of Davids. Whether you're a man or a woman, we need more David type people, people that are motivated and driven by their pursuit of God in their lives to live a life of godly character and a life that is driven by a pursuit of God first in their life. Because if you put God first in your life, everything else will naturally fall into place.